going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody into this Friday edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Networks. I'm your host, Michael Marks, and we've got a bunch to get into today, as we always do here on the Mark My Words College Sports Show. And Week 7, it's a big one. And, hey, earlier this week we started the 49 consecutive days of football on TV, so we'll break down some of those college games that have taken place this week, because we've gotten to the middle part of the season, and that means we're having football 5-6 days a week. So going back all the way to last night, or actually I believe there were some games Wednesday. Yes, we had 2 games on Wednesday night. Missouri State taking down MTSU 22-20. Missouri State up to 3-3 on the season. The Blue Raiders fall to 1-5. Liberty getting a big win there, 19-8 over UTEP. Flames pick up their second win of the year. UTEP falls to 1-5. As of for the games last night, Kennesaw State picking up a big win over Louisiana Tech, 35-7, and the Owls have looked really, really good here in 2025. I believe already doubled their win total from last year, already at 4-2. So great looking team for Kennesaw State this year. Tulane, an ugly win if you ask John Summerall, but they pick up the win over East Carolina last night, 26-19. And then Jacksonville State picks up a win over Sam Houston State, 29-27. The Bearcats still looking to find their first win. And then last night, Southern Miss takes down Georgia Southern, 38-35. Southern Miss up to 4-2 on the year, and Georgia Southern falls to 2-4. So let's jump into the games that haven't happened yet. We got a couple matchups tonight, and funny enough, a really, really big game coming out of the American. North Texas at 5-0, playing host to number 24 South Florida. And for all things considered, this is for a playoff spot. These are 2 of the best teams in the American. We're not going to see too many big matchups this year, but it feels like the American really has 4 teams that could make the college football playoff. I mean, you just look at all the teams they have: South Florida, Tulane, Memphis, and it's a ton of talent. We do get South Florida and Memphis actually in 2 weeks. Navy is also undefeated. We get South Florida and Navy. So if anybody's going to earn this, it will be USF. But I really like North Texas tonight in this one. Have one of the most efficient passing offenses in the country, led by a freshman, Drew Mestamaker. 106 for 156 completion-wise, 1,247 yards, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I believe he's the most efficient quarterback in the American Conference. And this is a true freshman. This isn't a redshirt freshman. This isn't a guy that's sat and learned for a while. This is a kid that was playing high school football at this time last year, and he has excelled. They have kind of a two-headed monster at running back with Caleb Hawkins and Mackenzie McGill II. Both those guys averaging over 5 yards a carry, several touchdowns each, both around the 300-yard mark. So just 2 talented backs. And then, their receiving core is outrageous. They have 7 guys over 100 receiving yards, multiple guys with 2 or more touchdowns, 3 guys over 200 receiving yards. So, unlike most group of 5 teams, they're not a one-trick pony, so to speak. Remember Boise last year. They had Ashton Jeanty. That was it. Even some of those older Boise State teams, they had Kellen Moore and not a whole lot else talent-wise. This team has talent all over the place. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. And it's not like you can shut down one guy. The questions, though, come with their defense. They gave up 30 to Western Michigan, a game they had to win in overtime. Gave up 38 to Army. And Army is the one military academy that doesn't throw the ball a lot. They allowed Army to rush for, that's a lot of yards. What do we got? 387 yards on the ground in that game. So they have some holes in their defense. But it started to look a little better as we've gotten down the season. Holding, South Alabama to 22. So this is a team that is coming off a bye week, though. This is a great point to turn things around because, again, the defense hasn't looked great. And that's one thing about South Florida that's kept them in so many games is how good their defense is. Beating Boise State 34-7. Beating Florida 18-16. Now, Miami ran through them, but Miami's run through everybody. 63-14 over South Carolina State, and then 54-26 over Charlotte. So not only are they scoring a lot of points, they're not giving up a whole lot. That 26 to Charlotte is the most they've given up in a win. I don't know why they can't do it again against South Florida or against North Texas, but I'm riding with the Mean Green until they have a loss. I know that's maybe a bit of a controversial pick. And I'm a huge fan of South Florida. I love Alex Golesh, Byron Brown. That team is really fun to watch. But Brown is really the extent of their rushing attack, and I feel like with no guys having over 40, having over 32 carries on the team, other than your quarterback, I just feel like that's not something that's going to translate well down the line. Now he's done a fair job passing, 61% completion percentage, almost 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, but the 4 interceptions again can be cause for a bit of worry, and then the 7 sacks also, meaning that his line's having a bit of a tough time keeping him upright. And with this game being at North Texas, I just feel like it favors them. Datku Park in Denton, Texas is sold out for the first time, I believe, ever. But hey, North Texas favored by 2.5. Give me the Mean Green in this one. And that's going to be a huge one in the American, because if South Florida wins, that shakes everything back up once again and really solidifies them. But it makes that game against Memphis in 2 weeks massive. Hopping on over to the power ranks, power conferences, we have another game tonight. Rutgers and Washington going at it in the Big Ten. It still feels so wrong to call Washington a Big Ten team. Washington coming off a huge win on the road last week at Maryland. They had to fly all the way across the country. Did not matter. They looked sluggish for 3 quarters, and then were really able to put it together in the fourth quarter. Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, guys like that were huge for them. And I think they're going to be huge again against Rutgers. The Scarlet Knight have really struggled, really ever since that game against Iowa back last month. They have struggled. They lost. Drop a 3-point loss to Minnesota. So Ethan Kaliakamanis has done a great job. It's just when looking at his stats, 15 sacks, and that's in 5 games. He's getting sacked 3 times a game. That's not very good. They have a win over Ohio, and that Ohio team has ended up being pretty good. They have a big win over Miami of Ohio, beating up on all the MAC teams, Norfolk State. But since they've gotten into Big Ten play, 0-2 with losses to Iowa and Minnesota, 2 of the teams that aren't expected to finish too high in the Big Ten. It would be very Big Ten for Rutgers to win this game, but I'm going to go with Washington in that one. Huskies looking to go 5-1, and that would be a big win to get tonight. Fresno State and Colorado State also playing tonight out in the Mountain West. Fresno State's 5-1 on the year, and they've looked really good. I don't imagine them dropping this one. It hurts to see Colorado State struggling, because they're typically someone you would think of as being a pretty good team. But listen, E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son, the quarterback for Fresno State, has struggled this year. And to see them at 5-1 when he has a 7-6 touchdown to interception ratio and has been sacked 8 times, it really shows just how much they rely on that run game. And Bryson Donaldson and Rayshawn Luke have been huge for them. But look for a big win tonight from Fresno to pick up their 6th win of the year. Hopping on over, now into Saturday morning. Not as many big games in the morning slot as usual. This one is definitely a stacked on the back half kind of day. But hey, getting started with a great one. Alabama, number 8 in the country at 4-1, coming off a win at home against Vanderbilt. Heading to Como to take on the 14th ranked Missouri Tigers, who are 5-0. And this is a strange game because one half of me is saying, okay, you look at Alabama. They come off that bye week. Then they play Georgia on the road. A tough game, but they pull it out. Then they play Vanderbilt at home. And while typically you wouldn't think of an Alabama-Vanderbilt game as being something to cause worry, it was a revenge game for Alabama. That was a game they dropped last year. They won it. A big emotional win. In 2 weeks, in a week, not tomorrow, the following Saturday, they got to play Tennessee. And that Missouri game is slid right there in the middle, a noon start. This has trap game written all over it. I don't know if I would say that I think Missouri's going to win, but I feel really confident about it. And I'm not sure what's really giving me that confidence other than just a gut feeling almost. I mean, you got Coach Drinkwitz in the SEC the coaches teleconference asking Kalen DeBoer if he's going to wear his black hoodie of death. I mean, this game's got a lot riding on it for both of these teams, because Alabama, if they pick up a second loss, they are not out of the playoff, but don't have room to stumble up anymore, and they still have some tough competition left on that schedule. For Missouri, I mean, that completely busts open the SEC, because I don't know if anybody necessarily has Missouri projected in their playoff yet, because you look at their schedule. One, they have not played away from home, and that will continue tomorrow. They don't play an away game this year till October 18th, which is insane. But you look at their schedule. Alabama this week, Auburn the next, and then you follow it up Vanderbilt, bye week, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I mean, their schedule has not been tough whatsoever so far. Central Arkansas, Kansas, UL Lafayette, South Carolina, and UMass. They have not faced a good team yet. They will tomorrow. But one team has Ahmad Hardy and the other team does not. The leading rusher in the country, the leading rusher in the SEC by nearly 300 yards is Ahmad Hardy. Listen, 103 carries, 730 yards. That's 7.2 yards a carry and 9 touchdowns. And that's 5 games. I mean, his numbers are going to be much more absurd than that if you look later down the road. I mean, he's on pace for, 16, 17, 1,800 yards, something like that. And Bo Perbula has been awesome. 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Got to watch the sack numbers because Missouri's offensive line has been a bit suspect in pass protection. But Kevin Coleman Jr. has been awesome. Marquise Johnson as well. Brett Norfleet, the tight end. Missouri is one of the teams that uses their tight end in the SEC the most. I'm going to take Missouri. I'm sitting here talking myself into it. I'm going to take Missouri in this one. I don't know why. I just feel like this is a perfect trap game for Alabama. And what team is dangerous right now is Missouri, because we don't know. They haven't had a close game, but they also haven't played anybody. So we'll figure out a lot about Missouri and Alabama tomorrow. Big noon kickoff, number 1 Ohio State at number 17 Illinois. That one at 11 a.m. on Fox. Illinois is a strange team, because if they win this game tomorrow, I still don't know what to think about them, because they still have a 53-point loss to Indiana. There is no salvaging that. You could win this game tomorrow and still have people questioning if you deserve to be in the playoff. Now, I think if you do win tomorrow, you're in, probably. I mean, there's at Washington the next after your bye week in 2 weeks is going to be tough, but other than that, I don't see a team up here other than maybe Maryland that could trip you up. I think Illinois needs this, though, if they want to make the playoff. I don't think a 2-loss Illinois team with blowout losses against Indiana and Ohio State will get you in this year. But who knows? I'm going to take Ohio State in this one. They have been so efficient. Really, ever since that Texas game that was an ugly one to start the season. Julian Sayin right now has an 80.2% completion percentage off 126 passes. He's 101 for 126 for 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he's only been sacked twice. Bo Jackson has been awesome for Ohio State. 7.5 yards a carry. I mean, you look at some of these averages, and they're just absurd. I mean, Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate both already with 400-plus yards and at least 4 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith with 6, actually. I mean, these numbers are absurd, and they haven't really opened up anything yet. This isn't a team that's doing a bunch of crazy trick plays. They're just beating who they need to beat. But this will be their toughest matchup of the year up to this point. I do think Illinois is better than Texas. After what we've seen from the Longhorns the past couple of weeks, that team is lucky to still have a heartbeat. We'll head to the Big 12 now. A team that got a big win last week is hosting UCF. It is 4-1 Cincinnati hosting 3-2 UCF. That one on FS1 at 11. And look, I'm huge on Cincinnati. I'm not sure if I think they're a playoff team or anything, but they've been the surprise of the year so far. Scott Satterfield has, up to this point, saved his job and has his toughest games out of the way this season. I think Kansas and Iowa State are probably, along with Nebraska, probably some of their tougher games this year, because you look at the rest of their Big 12 schedule. UCF, very winnable. Oklahoma State, probably should fire Satterfield if you don't win that one. Baylor's a toss-up. Utah's pretty good. Arizona State's all right. BYU's pretty good, and TCU's all right. So, they've got a stretch where they can start to get their footing a little more under them, find out what kind of team they are, because I feel like they really scrambled to that Kansas and Iowa State game, and we're lucky to win those. If they're able to get the pass game going a little better, because obviously one of the best rushing teams in the country, they have, Sorsby is 9 yards away from them having 300-yard rushers already at this point in the season, and 10 rushing touchdowns between the three. So a 3-headed monster right there at tailback, and these are two of the better rushing teams in the nation. With UCF especially. They run the ball a ton, already 1,000 rushing yards as a team. But the problem is they are barely to 1,000 yards in passing as well, and I think that's just been the big thing. Their inability to get the pass game going will be their demise in this one. So give me Cincinnati picking up a big win and moving to 5-1, and hopefully we'll be in the top 25 next week. UCLA and Michigan State. Now, why am I talking about a game between a 1-4 team and a 3-2 team? I want to see how UCLA responds, as well as Michigan State. Michigan State coming off that big loss last week to Nebraska, where Nebraska kind of used the run game to get things going. And that was something that Michigan State struggled with as a team. You look at what Nebraska did. Obviously, the yardage isn't going to be crazy, but it was the 3 rushing touchdowns that kind of did them in. And UCLA had their best rushing performance of the year by far last week against Penn State, against what you would think is a traditionally good rushing defense. So I want to see how UCLA bounces back. Are they still riding off of that high, the Jerry Neuheisel swag, or have they kind of come back to earth and are going to go 1-11 or 2-10? I'm leaning towards Michigan State on this one. But man, I'm going to ride the Jerry Neuheisel hype train until they lose tomorrow. So give me UCLA in this one. Nico is kind of turned things around. The 67% completion percentage, but he's running the ball really well. Has 10 touchdowns already on the year, and has really turned this UCLA team around last week. And listen, all the jokes you want about Nico, he looked really good last week, and that was by far the best he's looked in a college game against a good team. So props to him. Washington State at Ole Miss. You have the number 1 team in the Pac-2, the number 1 team in the SEC going head-to-head, and Ole Miss will probably win by 60. Washington State has not looked good this year. They're 3-2, but they're having to play with the Mountain West. So I don't look at that as a 3-2 Mountain or a 3-2 Pac-12 team. I look at that as a 3-2 Mountain West team, and that's not good. You look at the year, their wins, 3-point win over Idaho, a big 23-point win over San Diego State. I tell you, San Diego and New Mexico are two of the most confusing teams in the country. A 49-point loss to North Texas, a 25-point loss in the Apple Cup, and then a 17-point win to Colorado State. So, it seems like they're beating bad teams and losing to good teams. So I think that's going to stay, and they've allowed 59 points in their last 2 games against Power 4 opponents. I think Ole Miss will match that fairly easy. So give me Ole Miss in that one. So my picks to the morning, Friday night and morning games: North Texas over South Florida, Missouri over Alabama. I'm going to go Ohio State over Illinois, Cincinnati over UCF. Give me UCLA over Michigan State, and Ole Miss over Washington State. Now to the afternoon slate, the biggest game of the day. I don't care what's coming on after, what's come on before. Indiana-Oregon is huge. Indiana is one of the hottest teams in the country, coming off their bye week last week. And this game, I usually think of college football in 3 ways: that September, you learn about your team; October, you go out and prove it; in November, if you're good, you're going to win; if you're bad, you're going to lose. Just from the way the past couple of weeks have unfolded, I don't know what I know about Indiana and Oregon. There's 2 really talented quarterbacks. You have Fernando Mendoza, who has a 73% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns passing to 1 interception. Is insane. Also, tack on 2 more rushing touchdowns with that. Hoosiers look really good. They have the a 73-point win against Indiana State, that 53-point win against Illinois. A big win over Old Dominion, big win over Kennesaw State. A close one 2 weeks ago against Iowa, though, and that is an Iowa style thing. That is not anything against Indiana. If you look at the way Mendoza played, it wasn't great, but they did enough to get the win. And listen, this Indiana team is tremendously talented, from top to bottom. I mean, obviously Mendoza, Roman Hemby, and Kalen Black in the backfield have been really good. But Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, and E.J. Williams, that's a really good wide receiver trio and one of the best in the country. Now we'll hop over to Oregon. Oregon got a huge bump in the ratings. Obviously, they've looked good, killing Montana State, Oregon State, or Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State, and then that win against Penn State 2 weeks ago. That Penn State win has been what they've kind of been riding on. And now it doesn't look good at all because that is a 6-point win on the road. Sure, it's a road night game against a team that's not ranked anymore, a team that has lost 2 straight games, one of them being to you. How good is that win? How good is Oregon? Now, Dante Moore has been awesome this year, 1,200 passing yards, 75% completion percentage, 14-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That makes me think they're really good. But, man, I tell you, Cignetti has been shutting up his haters this year, me included. Give me Indiana. I think the Hoosiers are going to go on the road and really shock the world in this one and solidify themselves as the second best team in the Big Ten. That's what I see happening. Now, given when Oregon had a big matchup coming out their way last year with Ohio State, I mean, that environment was crazy. And even the Illinois game a little later on, the environments were really good, and those two teams could not get anything going, really. But I think Oregon's defense is taking a step back from last year. I'm going to stick with Indiana. The game on Peacock at 2:30. NC State at 4-2 on the year, heading up to South Bend to take on the number 16 ranked and 3-2 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame coming off a win last week against Boise State, a team that has been struggling. But listen, Notre Dame started the season 0-2 and have rattled off 3 straight. And there is no denying that. Should they have been unranked when after those 2 losses? Maybe, maybe not. But that is a combined 4 points that you lost those games by to the number 2 and the number 5 ranked teams in the country. I think that they'll be okay with those losses. Big win Purdue, big win at Arkansas, big win at home against Boise State. But this NC State team is legit. C.J. Bailey has been really good this year, 1,600 passing yards already on 75% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Look, you're going to throw some interceptions when you're airing it out that much. Hollywood Smothers has been a really good running back, almost 700 yards already on the season. He's been really good. So this NC State team is going to be able to put some points up. The over-under on this one set at 62.5. I'll take that. But also the spread has Notre Dame by over 3 touchdowns. I don't know if they'll cover, but give me Notre Dame to win there. And I think that this is finally when people start realizing that maybe Notre Dame's actually pretty good. I think this is the game that does that. Heading over to the Big Ten Network at 2:30, Maryland 4-1 against Nebraska, also 4-1. These are 2 teams in the Big Ten that are looking to sort of identify themselves. Where do they fall in the Big Ten? Because if you look at the Big Ten standings, you have your Indiana, your Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Illinois, USC, Washington, and then everybody else. A bunch of 1-1s and then you got teams like Penn State and Michigan State, Rutgers, Purdue at the bottom. Can Nebraska solidify themselves? If you look at their Nebraska schedule, they played 1 ranked game all season, and that will probably be it. Maybe one more, depends on what USC and Penn State do later on down the line. I think Nebraska needs this one because I think with the way the Big Ten has slotted out that they might not get a playoff spot with this team, but if they go 10-2, they're a very, very dangerous team. Dylan Raiola has had a great year, 1,300 passing yards, 74% completion percentage, 12-2 touchdown to interception ratio. I think this game favors them. It is on the road at Maryland, but Maryland loses a tough one at home last week to Washington. I'm not sure if they'll be able to bounce back. Malik Washington is a tremendously talented freshman quarterback, but with the lack of experience on this Maryland team, I just think that we're going to start to see them slowly fall off throughout the year. Give me Nebraska to win this one. We'll stay in the Big Ten on FS1 at 2:30. 2 3-2 teams going at it, Northwestern at Penn State. Now, why is this one on here? Because Northwestern and Penn State has probably never been a big game. But for the same reason the UCLA game was on here, I want to see how they respond. Because if you remember the week before the UCLA Penn State game, Northwestern, or 2 weeks, before that. No, it was the week before. UCLA went on the road and lost to Northwestern. So now Northwestern has to go on the road and face Penn State. There's really not a whole lot of great on Northwestern's team. Preston Stone's an all right quarterback. He got benched last year at SMU and had to hit the road. But Penn State's struggling, man. Bad. You got two NFL talent running backs. Nick Singleton, who's supposed to be the guy, is getting the bulk of your carries, 3.5 yards a carry. Now, Katron Allen has looked much better, but Drew Allert hasn't passed for 1,000 yards yet. 65% completion percentage. Now, given he's not turning the ball over a ton in the air, but if you can't pass the ball, which was what a lot of people's concerns were coming into this team because they lost Keandre Lambert-Smith and guys like that from years past, that they were gonna struggle. And I mean, it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. He needs some help on the outside to look good. I think Penn State will take this one comfortably. I think they're going to start to get back on track and picked a great time of their schedule to do it. Northwestern and Purdue back-to-back. But, what if they lose these two games? What if Penn State has completely fallen off? What if they're going to fire James Franklin? I mean, that's what makes college football so great because those things are all very likely. Even when it seems like that James Franklin, other than top Tim Gaines, can do no wrong. Red River Shootout going down at the Cotton Bowl on ABC at 2:30. Number 6 Oklahoma, 5-0 on the year, going up against 3-2 Texas. I am really concerned that Oklahoma is about to do something extremely stupid. Now, this is per On3 as of 7 p.m. last night, and this comes off a report from yesterday that says Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer is listed as questionable on the initial SEC injury reports ahead of the Red River rivalry with Texas. He is recovering from a surgery on a broken bone in his throwing hand and will only be 17 days post-surgery on Saturday. Well, he's been upgraded to probable. Now, I don't think Oklahoma needs to play Mateer in this one. But I remember watching Michael Hawkins last year, and I've watched him a little bit this year. He hasn't looked great. But if you put John Mateer out there, I think that this just opens Texas's eyes to, that's a guy not playing at 100%. Let's send an extra guy. Let's send the late blitzer. Because if you hit him a couple of times, and I'm not saying Texas is dirty or anything, but that throwing hand will probably get tested. And, trying to play 17 days post-surgery on a broken bone in your right hand, I mean, that is a accident waiting to happen. I'm hoping he doesn't play. But either way, I'm going Texas in this one. I don't know why. But I think Oklahoma is going to struggle against Texas's defense without Mateer, with Michael Hawkins. But also, if they put Mateer in, I think he's just going to end up hurt and probably done for the year, and that's going to can Oklahoma's playoff chances. The spread has flipped around. It was Oklahoma 1.5, and now it's flipped back to it was Oklahoma 1.5 yesterday. It's probably changed again, knowing how betting lines move. It is Oklahoma 1.5, and this is just since the injury announcement coming up about John Mateer. I really don't think Oklahoma should push this because you have a noon game against South Carolina the next week, which you can probably win comfortably, and then a noon game the week after that at home against Ole Miss. If you save him for that game, I think you're fine. But if not, I mean, you're putting yourself at real risk to completely ruin your college football playoff chances, and I don't want to see them do that because I think this Oklahoma team is extremely talented, and they have a 4-week stretch where they play at home against number 4 Ole Miss, on the road at number 12 Tennessee, and then on the road at number 8 Alabama. Oh, and then the week after that, at home against Missouri. The week after that, at home against LSU. So they have murderer's row, and even their 2 unranked games this week and next week are against Texas and South Carolina. SEC's cutthroat, folks, and Oklahoma got a terrible draw. But yeah, I'm going to take Texas in this one. I think that they're really going to respond after that loss at Florida because that was not expected. That was not something that should have happened, but it did. And I think Sark and his guys are going to bounce back. But But I have some concerns about Texas because when Sark is coming out in interviews saying not everybody can go to the swamp and win, well, we've seen a team do that this year. A USF team that's not supposed to be very good. The 3:15 game on the SEC Network, 2-3 Arkansas on the road at number 12 and 4-1 ranked Tennessee. As a Tennessee guy, I'm not sure how I feel about this one because there's a lot of noise on the outside about, listen, Arkansas's stats are absurd. You got Taylor Green with over 1,800 yards this year, and as of right now, 14 touchdowns. He has 5 interceptions, though. 12 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground. He's been a turnover problem and is also the team's leading rusher. And then the team's number 1 running back, Mike Washington Jr., comes out in a interview this week and says there's a lot of holes in their defense, talking about Tennessee. Obviously, I think we had a sort of coup go on at Arkansas, and now Bobby Petrino is the head guy, at least in an interim position, going on the road to face off against Tennessee. The last time a Bobby Petrino head coached team played in Knoxville, they had 5 turnovers in the first quarter, but that was also with Western Kentucky. So I don't know what to think about this one because also Tennessee's coming off a bye week this past week. Arkansas is as well. But you look at the way that those teams entered the bye week. Tennessee got what at the time didn't seem as big, seemed a lot bigger than it probably does now, but a big win on the road against Mississippi State. Arkansas loses by 43 points at home to Notre Dame. I don't see a way Tennessee loses this game by the singular fact that, well, one, Arkansas's defense won Arkansas this game last year. And maybe the lack of good quarterback play for Tennessee. Well, Bobby Petrino fired your defensive coordinator, your co-defensive coordinator, and your defensive line coach, and has pretty much given himself 10 days to put together a game plan for a Tennessee offense that is back playing the way it was in 2021 and 2022. Give me Tennessee in this one, and I think they're going to win pretty big. I think this is also one the Vols have had circled on that calendar ever since the schedule was released, and this is one they've been waiting for. On to the night slate, and a really good one to start it off. Florida 2-3, going on the road to face number 5 Texas A&M, undefeated at 5-0. This is where Texas A&M has their Texas A&M moment. Florida just got a big win against Texas, and what a way to compound it with a win on the road at Texas A&M. Now, it's on the road, it's at night. That gives me no hope for Florida. But I don't know. That win against Texas, it really seemed like it saved Billy Napier's job, and to solidify that even more for a win that Florida should not get, it would be on the road at Texas A&M because, look, yeah, on the year, really nothing Florida has done has looked good. I mean, even that win against Long Island, you had some concerns coming out of it. DJ Lagway's stats aren't crazy good. They're not good at all, actually. Jaden Ball's been all right. Vernell Brown's been all right. But, again, there's nothing on their team that screams tremendous. But they've gotten Dallas Wilson back. Vernell Brown's playing really well. Jaden Ball's playing really well. Lagway just had his best game of the year, probably against I'll say the second best team they've played. Maybe the third, depending on where LSU and Texas really shape out at. Sure, if you look at Lagway's numbers for the year, he doesn't have 1,000 passing yards. He has the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions. He's been sacked almost 10 times. But that wasn't a huge problem last week. And if you go look at his stats against Texas, who I still think is one of the best defenses in the country, 75% completion percentage, almost 2 yards under 300, 2 touchdowns and a pick. You got a really good game from Jaden Ball out of the backfield. 27 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, 6 catches, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Wilson. 3 catches for 72 yards for Brown. That's a good-looking offense right there. Their defense was never a concern for Florida. And Texas A&M's offense has struggled the past couple of weeks. I mean, I'm not going to say them putting up 31 against Mississippi State was nothing, but you scored 16 the week before against Auburn. You had games coming into the season, 42 against UTSA, 44 against Utah State, 41 against Notre Dame, and then 16 and 31 in your last 2. Heading into this night game against Florida. I'm going to take Texas A&M, but don't color me crazy if Florida wins this game. I will not be shocked one bit when we break these games down on Monday. Iowa at Wisconsin. This is the night game on FS1. Iowa is coming off their... Iowa's an interesting team this year because they are really close to being 5-0. Like, really close. They have a close loss in a game they probably should have won against Iowa State, and then a 5-point loss to Indiana. They have 2 losses by a combined 8 points. Now, they're coming off a bye week, and they're facing a struggling Wisconsin team. I think this is a good chance to get them on track because in 2 weeks, or pardon, in a week, I guess, they got Penn State coming in. And I remember some very big Penn State-Iowa games going on at Kinnick Stadium, so, a win here against Wisconsin would just amplify that even more. And looking at, and hey, that's already a night game on Peacock, so get ready for that one. Big news, not ruining that one. The night game on ABC, number 10 Georgia going on the road to face off against Auburn. Everything I've watched this year tells me Georgia's going to win this game comfortably. But it's at Auburn. It's at night. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. I mean, how do you beat that? You have Georgia. You have Auburn. 2 of the more prominent teams in this. And these teams have played, I believe every year since, or pretty close to every year since 1892. Yeah, it's the 7th most played rivalry game in college football, not just in the SEC. Faced off in a conference championship game back in 2017. And, these 2 games have had, 2 teams have had an interesting game before. I'm going to take you back to 1986, a year that I bet all of you remember well. And we'll go to a game, this game. Because you go to the early 80s, 1980. Yeah, that's when Herschel Walker kind of had his reign. This is known as the game between the hoses. But, Herschel Walker was the running back at Georgia. They win 3 straight games. Then the next year, it falls right into Bo Jackson's time at Auburn. They win 3 straight games. So now comes 1986. This game was at Auburn, at Jordan-Hare. And Georgia upset number 8 Auburn 20-16. And Georgia fans stormed Auburn's field. And it got to the point where I believe it was the police chief in Auburn. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, yeah. So there was a Georgia fan on that field. It was actually Gunnar Stockton's grandfather. Was one of the guys that stormed the field that day. They had to get hoses out to hose the Auburn fans off the field. So, if you don't think that this game is heated, you just don't know college football. It's going to be a good one because this Georgia team, compared to years past, they look beatable. They did not look great against Austin Peay in their FCS game. Now, I know they're not going to show anything out in that one. Should have lost to Tennessee. Did lose to Alabama. Looked all right against Kentucky, but, Gunnar Stockton's stats aren't anything that blow you away. Just over 1,000 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sure, they have a ton of talented running backs. Bowens, Frazier, McCray, even Dwight Phillips a little bit. Pretty much anybody but Cash Jones, so to speak. So, it looks like this is the perfect game for Georgia, but I think that this is Auburn's chance to win a big game because Jackson Arnold has looked terrible this year. Let's just over 65% completion percentage, 850 yards. That's it, really. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Has been sacked. This isn't a typo. 20 times. He's lost 120 yards for his team on sacks alone. Now, he does have 192 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Add that 119 to it, and we're looking at 320 rushing yards, which would, look really good. But the problem is he stands there until he gets sacked every time. Auburn's got some players that have some momentum for today or for tomorrow's game, as Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr. have signed the NIL deal with Nike. And the thing for Jeremiah or for Cam Coleman is number 8, that he's open 8 days a week, and I would agree with that. If you can get him the ball. That's the thing about Eric Singleton Jr. and Cam Coleman. They are so talented, but they have nobody to get them the ball. I mean, nothing against Jackson Arnold, but he's not a great passer. And they have a third guy in there, Horatio Fields, the transfer from Wake. He was a 500-yard receiver last year. That's a guy that should be able to put up numbers for you, and it's just not working out that way. Everything's been going terrible for Auburn. Give me the Tigers. It makes no sense. It's going to be a close one. But give me Auburn. It's Jordan Hare. It's night. Weird things have happened there in this game. It's being played a lot earlier than it usually is, but give me Auburn. I don't know what it is. It just feels like Auburn is going to get this one. Now a pretty pivotal one going on in the Big 12 out in Lubbock. Number 9 Texas Tech at 5-0, putting that perfect record on the line at home against the 4-2 Kansas Jayhawks. That one on Fox at 6:30. And this is going to be a fun one. You have two very explosive offenses, two very efficient quarterbacks, and two fairly talented head coaches, I would say. I mean, I do think that Joey McGuire and Lance Leipold are two of your more creative head coaches in college football. But look, you got Jalen Daniels with over almost 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His team's going to air it out. I mean, you got three guys over 250 passing yards, one guy almost at 500. So you're really spreading the ball out. And your top 5 receivers, 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. 2 of those are tight ends. Your tight ends have 5 receiving touchdowns already this year. They're putting a ton of points up. Their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, though, and that's where the concerns come. It looked bad last week against Cincinnati. They had their holes against UCF, and Texas Tech is efficient. And anytime they've had a big 12 game, really just two of the last 3 weeks, obviously had a bye week in there, they went on the road at undefeated Houston, handled business 35-11. The week 2 weeks before that, they had a 34-10 win against Utah. So I think that this Texas Tech team is set up extremely well to make a playoff run, but they're going to have to get through Kansas, and I think they'll win. But Kansas is going to put up some points. This may be an old-style Big 12 game, 55-42, something like that. The over-under on this one is set at 58.5. That is way too low. Texas Tech's defense is really good, but I think Kansas is going to put up some points and make it a fight. The night game on NBC, 2 of the biggest brands in all of college football. Number 15 Michigan at 4-1, going on the road to face off with USC at 4-1. I don't know how I feel about this one. It's a very strange Big 12 conference game, or Big 10 conference game. USC is favored by 2.5 at home, despite Michigan being the ranked 15 in the nation. But what has Michigan done to, stand out? Their quarterback has 1,000 passing yards, which is more than Drew Aller. Only 3 touchdowns, though. Through the air, that is. Has added in 3 more on the ground, but 6 total touchdowns from your guy that you spent, $10 million on? They have ran the ball exceptionally well. Justice Haynes has 650 yards and 8 touchdowns already on the season through 85 carries. Donovan McGulley's been really good for them. But, you just look at the numbers that these USC guys have put up. Now, I think Michigan has a tremendous defense. But let's look at Michigan. Win at home against New Mexico. Win at home against Central Michigan. Got a road win against an unranked Nebraska. And then picked up a win at home against Wisconsin. They haven't made a big trip yet. This is a business trip, and those guys got to be ready. I don't know how a freshman quarterback is going to play in that environment, because I do have a strong inclination that USC will have that one. That'll be a raucous environment. And their guys are putting up crazy numbers, and they're looking for a quality opponent like this. Had a chance against Illinois two weeks ago, but are looking to make that claim that we're here to stay and we're good. Jaden Maeva, almost 1,600 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. Wayman Jordan, their running back, over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then Mekhi Lemon, their leading receiver, almost 600 yards through the air already this season. That is outstanding, and they are waiting for a team to put a hurting on. And I think Michigan falls in at the worst time possible. Give me the Trojans to get a big win and catapult themselves in the Big Ten, the craziest conference in the country. I really feel like they should split it up almost, just because there are too many teams there. Make it, two Big Tens. I don't know, a Big Ten East with 10 teams, a Big Ten West with 10 teams. I don't know. But it just feels like, a 5-1 USC team should be held in high regards, and they're still going to be like 6th in the conference after this. The night game on the SEC Network, 3-2 South Carolina going on the road to play in Death Valley at number 11 LSU, who is 4-1 on the season. Looking at the injury report, Caden Durham is still, I believe he's listed as probable as of now. Let me see if I still have that pulled up from yesterday. Here we go. So this is as of, I guess as of last night, maybe this morning. But you go and look at the LSU. Caden Durham is probable. Aaron Anderson questionable. Those are two guys that are very important for this offense that has looked bad all year. Their offense is not good. It has not looked good once. And it's the reason they're going to lose a game they probably shouldn't lose. I don't know if it'll be this one. And Garrett Dustmeyer is doing everything he can, but go watch some highlights from him last year and then watch his game Saturday. You can tell he's hurting every time he throws the ball. His mechanics are weird. I don't know if it has to do with his ankle or something. Maybe I heard there was maybe an arm or an oblique injury, or something like that in there. So Nussmeier's not at 100%, and not playing Michael Van Buren, I feel like, is doing a disservice to LSU as a team. You're missing your leading rusher. If Durham doesn't play, your leading rusher after that has 109 yards on the year on 20 carries. Aaron Anderson's your leading receiver. He could be out, and then that's leaving a lot on the hands of Xavion Thomas and Barryon Brown. For South Carolina, though, none of their so-called big dogs in this one are out. I mean, sure, some offensive linemen are out, and a couple of defensive linemen are probable, but that's how it's going to be every week in the SEC. The names you keep an eye on are those skill position guys. LSU's favored by 9.5 at home. But I think Lenore Sellers is going to have I'm not going to say a Heisman moment, because I don't think he's going to win the Heisman, but a Heisman caliber game in a matchup like this. And I think that this is a fun opportunity for South Carolina to pick up a win, because if you've looked at their next 5 games, they probably shouldn't win a single one of them. But I think they do get one, and I think it's this one right here against LSU. That team has struggled. But yeah, the next couple of weeks for South Carolina, LSU tomorrow. The next week, at home against Oklahoma. The week after that, at home against Alabama. The week after that, at home against Ole Miss. Bye week, and then after that, a home game against Texas A&M, or on the road at Texas A&M. That's brutal. They probably should not win one of those. They probably will, though, just because I don't see them losing all 5 of those. I don't see this team going from 3-2 to 3-7. But they're going to struggle. But I do think they get this one over LSU. Give me Carolina to get a big win there. BYU at Arizona. This feels like a trap game almost for BYU, in the sense that they're 5-0 and they have a young quarterback, and they're going, while this game is at home. Oh, pardon, it is on the road. It's a night game. It's at Arizona. Arizona hasn't looked bad this year. They did have that ugly game against Iowa State, but have bounced back with a big win over Oklahoma State. Noah Fafita has looked great, 1,300 passing yards. Bear Bachmeier's looked great, over 1,000 passing yards. The difference is just the one loss, really. And looking at BYU's schedule, they have been waiting to get beat each game every week. Every week it feels like closer and closer. I don't know why they won't drop it, because they got the Holy War next week. And if you think they're not worried about Utah, you would be mistaken. I think this is a trap game. I think Arizona is going to take this one, and it may be the end for the BYU Cougars this season, just based on what's coming up in this next game we will talk about. Number 21, Arizona State, freshly back into the top 25, moved up a couple spots last week, taking on 4-1 Utah. Utah was up at 16 or 17, got killed by Texas Tech, and has been an afterthought ever since. Well, there's some injury concerns in this game. it doesn't look like Sam Leavitt's going to play. And that's a huge piece for Arizona State. But where Arizona State has been really good this year has been in moments where they can run the ball exceptionally well. They are, contrary to most teams in the traditional Big 12, they run the ball really well. Raleek Brown, Kanye Udo, guys like that. Even Sam Leavitt has run the ball really well. But they're going to have to rely on a transfer quarterback, a very experienced quarterback. But I don't know if experience translates to talent, because this guy also hasn't made a pass this year. It looks like Jeff Sims, the former Georgia Tech and Nebraska quarterback, is going to start against Utah in place of the injured Sam Leavitt. How much does this hurt Arizona State? Because, well, obviously Sims hasn't thrown a pass in a game yet this year, and he wasn't too great before. And he has a guy named Jordan Tyson that is one of the most talented receivers in the country on the outside. Is he going to be able to get it to him enough? Because, and even Raleek Brown has been a pretty viable piece out of the backfield. They're going to be able to get him involved. And that's going to be the key for Arizona State. But Utah, following that loss, they came out and looked mean the week after. 48-14 win against Arizona State, or against West Virginia, and now a bye week going into this one. Devin Dampier's been really good this year. He's only been sacked 3 times, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They've got a balanced rushing attack, 3 guys over 250 rushing yards, one of them being your quarterback. Those guys have a combined 9 touchdowns. Ryan Davis, Dallin Bentley. This is a team that puts linebackers and safeties in at wide receiver and running back. This team's 4th leading rusher is your tight end, Hunter Andrews. So I think it's a fun Utah team. Believe this game is in Salt Lake. So my initial pick was Arizona State, barring the Sam Leavitt news. And since that has been decided, I'm going to take Utah in this one. That game on ESPN at 9:15 p.m. So one last look over all of my picks for tomorrow. I have North Texas winning tonight at home against South Florida. I have Missouri picking up a big win at home against Alabama tomorrow. Ohio State winning I believe it's the Illabuck, or it's a trophy of a turtle. Actually, we'll stop and talk about this. The Illabuck. So this is the first time Ohio State and Illinois have played since 2017, which is crazy that they've been in the same conference and haven't played in 8 years. This trophy was first awarded in 1924. It is the second oldest trophy in the Big Ten. The original trophy was a live turtle that unfortunately passed away in 1926. So the death of the turtle is something quite controversial. So the most likely cause of death has been passed on by word of mouth through the years. The story goes something like this. The members of Bucket and Dipper had a spring party and decided to allow Illabuck to be part of the festivities. During the celebration, a great plan was hatched, and it was decided to fill the bathtub with booze and let Illabuck go for a swim. So the turtle passed away from alcohol poisoning, and that was the 3rd year of the trophy. So there have been 10 wooden replicas awarded since then, and similar to the beer barrel trophy that Tennessee and Kentucky have, the score is inscribed on the shell. So I hope they give this one away tomorrow. I think trophies like that are fun. But again, I have Ohio State winning that one. Cincinnati over UCF. UCLA picking up win number 2 against Michigan State. I have Ole Miss over Washington State. Indiana over Oregon. Notre Dame over NC State. Nebraska over Maryland. Penn State over Northwestern. Texas over Oklahoma. Tennessee over Arkansas. Texas A&M over Florida. But I think Florida has a very good shot at winning that one. Iowa over Wisconsin, and Auburn over Georgia in a close one. But again, if Georgia wins, I think Georgia will win. But I just have a feeling about Auburn, and they could get beat by 40, and I'll come in here and admit that I was wrong on Monday. Texas Tech over Kansas, USC over Michigan, South Carolina on the road with a big win at LSU, Arizona State over BYU, and Utah over Arizona State. So that will do it for the Week 7 preview show here on the Mark My Words College Sports Show. I'm Michael Marks. Have a good weekend and watch a bunch of football, everybody.
going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.